All right, so we got this video from Joe Rogan where he talks to Aaron Rodgers, 4-time MVP of the NFL. I thought this would be really fun to check out, so let's check it out, shall we? I think it's important that we do and see what Aaron Rodgers has to say, as he was very criticized last season for not having the COVID-19 vaccine. Was he justified? I don't know. You let me know in the comments down below. Let's get to it, shall we?
The Rogan experience.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year or so, but man, it's been a good year.
What was the craziness like? Like when all the people were calling you a plague rat and I mean, it's you and how do you say the guy's name, the tennis player?
Novak Djokovic.
Yes,
Djokovic.
Novak Djokovic
I mean,
and Aaron Rodgers. Those are the two big ones.
Human being.
The two big ones that are being persecuted. Actually, Djokovic still not able to play on U.S. soil because apparently you need to be vaccinated to come into the United States still, which is crazy, unless you're walking across the southern border.
Things on Earth,
Well, he's
professional
not playing
athletes.
in the U.S.
Yeah.
Open now.
Yeah, I know.
Because of this.
Which is bananas. The guy's already had COVID, recovered from it. I think he had it twice.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best athletes in the world. I mean, the guy's body's in tip-top
Tennis
condition.
players are
Oh,
incredible fitness.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I appreciate that Aaron Rodgers is saying this while smoking a cigar on the Joe Rogan Experience.
no, you can't come. You didn't follow the rules. Like it defies science, defies logic. It doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense, especially at this stage of the pandemic, air quotes. I mean, what the fuck, man?
I'm guessing this is why people like who are so ingrained with their ideology really don't like Joe Rogan. Is that what the deal is? Because he's saying what everybody else is thinking. Is that the idea? I'm pretty sure that's got to be it, right? He's just very open and honest. He's just a dude.
What was it like for you?
It was really difficult for sure, and a lot of different reasons. I think I knew that this was coming down, that at some point I was going to talk about my status because I'd chosen to not get vaxxed for reasons that you talked about on your show and I talked about on...
We should just say it because it's kind of important. You're allergic to a medication or
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy to think about. So he's allergic to putting something in his body that is in the... Can we say vaccine anymore? I don't know. In the vaccine, right? And he couldn't get an exemption from that, which is wow.
a part of the vaccine.
Right.
What is it called?
PEG, polyethylene glycol. And so I did my research. I think typically speaking, because I'm healthy and I take
Once again, holding a cigar.
care of myself, getting vaccinated was not on the top of my list. But, you know, I wanted to look into it because everybody was doing it and talking about it and trying to be safe. And I wanted to make sure I was, doing my part if that's what was necessary to keep myself safe and my loved ones safe and my teammates safe. Then I looked into it. And
Isn't that fascinating to hear what he said? He said, I wanted to do it because that's what everybody was doing. Everybody was doing it. Everybody's doing it. Come on, everybody's doing it. Come on, have some donuts. We'll give you some donuts. How's that sound? We'll give you some burgers and fries. All you got to do is get this shot. Come on. Everybody's doing it. Come on.
at the time, I went on the CDC website and they specifically said,
Ozzy Man says, I did my research, says a guy with no medical degree. That's really, Ozzy Man, that's really kind of a... Am I not allowed to talk about basketball because I didn't play in the NBA? Are you allowed to talk about being a content creator on YouTube because you are not a content creator on YouTube? Like, you can learn about these things easily without having a medical degree. The idea of a medical degree making you, like, I have met people, I know people, I've seen people over the last 2 years who have medical degrees who should not have medical degrees. Some extremely high in the government making decisions.
if you're allergic to PEG, we do not recommend you get vaccinated with the mRNA vaccinations. So the only other one available was Johnson & Johnson, and it had just got pulled at the time for blood clots.
As Ozzy Man says, my point is listen to your doctor. And he did. That's the idea. He went to a professional, They said, you should not get this. Do not get this. He went to the website. Says, the website for the shot said, do not get this if you're allergic to it.
So I looked into other options, which included an immunization process through a holistic doctor, and I researched and talked to probably a dozen different MDs. And
so he went to 12 doctors. He said probably a dozen. So that's 12 doctors. That's doing your research.
And found a protocol that I felt like was the best available.
And what's involved in that protocol?
It involved basically a couple-month process of taking a diluted strand of the virus. So I was doing basically what the vaccine is supposed to do without...
How do they do that?
All right, I want to let you know this right now. All super thanks down in the comments will go to me getting YouTube Premium. From here on out, you are supporting my YouTube Premium subscription, so we never have to see ads again.
I don't know the exact way that they did that, but it was
by injection.
No, it was oral. And
how are they even getting a diluted strand of the virus?
I don't know that exactly, or want to get into that exactly.
Okay, see that's interesting though, because he says I don't know, but then he follows up with I don't want to get into that, saying like alluding to he probably knows, he's just not telling us. Because if you come out and say like I don't know, then I think that totally goes against the idea of I know what I put in my body, right? It kind of messes with his credibility. But if he follows up with a little like, okay, just saying.
But there was hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of people that I knew in this circle that were using, that have been doing this to protect ourselves, because we were thinking, hey, look, for me, I didn't want to risk anaphylactic shock or any type of clotting with associated with the vaccine. So that was my only option: either do nothing or do this process.
That's did you already said though? Really interesting, and I would love to follow up on this. The idea of going in, he said he knew hundreds, if not thousands, of people going through this process, and you would think that there's he's a pretty well-known celebrity football player. You would think that there's got to be hundreds, if not thousands, of people in his friend network, probably celebrities, probably football players, who did the exact same thing. And that's be interested to learn more about that.
And I felt like that this was the best way to protect myself and my teammates, and that the NFL would understand, and maybe grant me a waiver, because one of the most difficult parts about the whole process was that there was clearly two classes of player at the facility. There was the vaxxed and the unvaxxed. And the vaxxed had full privileges. They tested once every 2 weeks. They had full privileges on the road. They could go out to dinner on the road. They could go to a concert in town. They could go to a comedy show that was in town. They could be at any place they wanted to, right, and live life normally. Non-vaxxed, fully masked, zero privileges on the road. Could not go into establishments with more than 15 people. You could not be around more than three individuals from the team outside the facility. All these different, what I think now we all realize were crazy policies.
Holy crap. Did you hear the idea of creating a separate class of people? If you don't look back at that, this is a year ago. The absolute fear-mongering and scare tactics attached to this. The idea that, look, if you don't have this, then we're going to restrict your movement. You can't do this. But if you do, you're good. You're good. And all the things we've learned, especially about masks. There's all these studies coming out about masks, and just the average standard, your non, what is it, N95 mask, just a generic blue mask that are coming. The amount of toxins that are in that thing that people are just breathing in, just oh my God, we've learned so much, and it's painfully obvious that the response to this pandemic was woefully pathetic, and driven by fear.
And that's what actually got me into trouble, was that I attended a Halloween party in a 10,000 square foot warehouse with 18 other individuals, all fully vaccinated, and myself not vaxxed, and was eventually fined for that. End up getting COVID from a vaccinated teammate of mine who contracted COVID and spread it. And that's where it gets a little bit crazy. And I told this story, I think on the McAfee show, but I said, when I came to camp, they knew I was not vaccinated, right? So you had to submit a vaccination card. That went to the system with the NFL. And obviously I didn't have one, so we were given wristbands too. So everybody in the facility knew who was vaxxed and who wasn't vaxxed.
Think about that. They were given wristbands to put on their hands, so you knew that they were tainted. They were tainted. That's so fucked up. Unbelievable. Like unreal looking back on this. And people just, we're just gonna go along with it. All right, sounds okay to me. Are you? What is going on? How did this happen? And I think that's the one thing that we're gonna look back on in like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. We're gonna look back and be like, man, people were idiots when we're all eating crickets and snakes and shit.
Vaxxed was green, non-vaxxed was yellow. Oof. So already it's weird, like wearing your colors out there. And I think, to do an aside here, there was a lot of shaming involved in it.
Was there?
There was a lot of public shaming that was attempted to coerce people to get vaccinated. Because not only are you wearing a yellow wristband, you're the only ones wearing masks. And you have to work out by yourself. Can't work out with your teammates.
So no drills, nothing?
Well, you could at practice. But weight room stuff, our weight room every day, we're working out on the side. Just the 7 of us not vaxxed.
Is it because
This is a legit question, and I don't know this. So please, if you have an answer for this in the comments below, have we had a single professional, I don't know. Have we had a single professional athlete at any professional level in any sport? And there has to be one, just statistically. Have we had a single professional athlete die of COVID in the last, since March 2020? Has there been a single COVID death? Not like, not like the myocarditis, people just falling over. I'm talking about from COVID. Masking set, not former athletes. I'm talking about athletes right now. Please let me know in the comments.
practice is outside and the weight room is inside? Is it
supposedly? Yeah. But so they knew my vaccination status from the start. As did all my teammates. There was a lot of talk about I endangered my teammates and, I lied to my teammates or my team from day one that I returned, which was July 25th probably of 2021. They knew where I was at. Everybody did. Also on the side, I had an appeal going with the NFL because I said, look, here's my health issues. Here's the protocol I went through. Here's the research behind it. Gave them 500 pages of research from a number of people that put together case-reviewed studies around homeopathy and immunizations and the safety in them and also the efficacy of them. And then I had a conversation with the league, and the league said in this conversation, this is when I knew that my appeal was definitely not going to happen, was they said it's not possible for a vaccinated person, to contract or transmit COVID if they've been vaccinated.
The amount of utter bullshit lies that we have been fed is insane. and people are just slopping this up. Like, this is a verifiable fact that that's a lie, straight up lie. That is insane, insane to think about. And the NFL, a multi-billion-dollar corporation, is running off this idea.
And I said, you got to be kidding me. Because I showed up and 5 people, non-players, 5 people fully vaxxed are out with COVID. So what are you talking about? And he said, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, boy.
And I said, no, I just think I'm a realist. I'm just looking at the facts here. Like,
And
you just told me.
Hey, looks like we got another label. It's a conspiracy theorist. Turns out he was right all along. Like I said, I'm not a conspiracy guy. Like, that's fascinating about this is he's one of the most well-financed, richest individuals in the United States. He makes $40-something million a year to throw a football, right? He has resources out the ass. He can do whatever he wants anytime just because he has money. And he did research on it. And he's being called a conspiracy theorist? Absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. If you're a conspiracy theorist, let me know in the comments, please. Ozzy Man says, the reason athletes didn't die is because they're in such great shape. They've said from the start that unhealthy people with pre-existing conditions have a higher chance of dying from COVID. Incorrect. They did not say that from the start. They absolutely did not say that from the start. And if you said that, you were a conspiracy theorist. That is revisionist history. That is absolutely revisionist history because everybody had equal chance. Why are they putting vaccines in 6 months old? 6-month-old. Why? They don't have the same chance of dying as a 75-year-old overweight person. Of course. What? No. If that's the case, then we wouldn't be going through the shit we're going through right now. That is absolutely not true. That has never been the narrative. The narrative from the start has been everybody needs to get this because we're going to kill grandmothers. You know that. We can't look back on that. Ozzy Man, I love that you're inputting here, but man, that's not the message, and you know that hasn't been the message. The message has been everybody needs to get this. People like when we were doing weekdays with Craig and Brad, we were getting flack from people for just looking at data and saying, "Oh, so old people and fat people are the ones getting dying from COVID." Like people were like, "How dare you? You've gone off the deep end." It's stats. What do you want me to tell you? It's stats.
The pandemic was this?
This was like beginning of August, 2021.
So by then, they had
A year
already
ago.
known that breakthrough infections were real. By then, it had already, I mean, the vaccines started being rolled out. Was it, what was the first year? It was January of 2020 where they started getting them to older people, right?
No, that's when it started.
The whole thing
Right, I'm sorry. January of 2021, rather.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
January of 2021, they started giving out to older people, wasn't that?
They started rolling them out in March and April because that's when I was going through the process of researching and looking into what I could do
Right.
to protect myself, having the allergy that I
And
had.
by August, people were they were already getting it,
Yes.
even though they had been vaccinated. So this was not,
It wasn't talked about, I don't think, a whole lot,
right, but it was 4 months
but it was
after
definitely happening.
So it was
Yeah.
definitely happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had only known one person at that time, somewhere around April, that had been vaccinated and also got COVID, and I just thought it was an aberration.
This is actually great. Nathan says, pretty crazy how incompetent his story makes the NFL look as an organization. Didn't even have accurate health advice from what I'd imagine are the most expensive doctors money can afford. Like, how idiotic does the NFL look after this? And this is their reigning MVP. This is a four-time MVP of their league. The best player in their league is in there just shitting on them on the biggest podcast in the world. Oh my God, they got to be pissed.
I didn't, based on what I saw in the first few weeks at the facility. And that's why I thought that there was an opportunity. But it was difficult because we were separated. There was a whole other situation that was going on that, also was going on in the rest of society, is that my non-vax teammates who were on the bubble, right? So 53 guys make the active roster.
Oh, I know where he's going to this. This is just absolutely brutal. Okay. We'll listen to what he's going to say because I know exactly where he's going to this.
16 on the practice squad, so that's 69 guys on the squad. There's 90 in camp, right? So of the, I said 7, I think it was about 10 guys not vaxxed. Only a few of us were guaranteed roster spots, like we were going to be on the team, and there's a lot of bubble guys. The general managers, and there was talk around the league how general managers were not going to keep bubble non-vax players, right? So they were already up against it. Not only did non-vax players have a harder chance of making the squad, but they also had an almost 0% opportunity to get a workout afterwards. So if you get cut, right, and the season starts, every Tuesday during the football season, most teams will bring in anywhere from 5 to 15 guys for workouts just to see who's out there. Is there any players they can add to the roster? So if you weren't vaxxed, you had a very low percentage, not just of keeping a job, but even getting a job opportunity.
That is so messed up. What's messed up is I understand both sides of it. I understand the idea of a GM who's like, well, if you can't play, I can't have you on the roster. I get that. I totally understand that. But what's most messed up about that is just the idea that this was taking people's livelihoods, right? So think about all the people who lost jobs because they didn't get the vaccine or the shot, the jab, whatever you want to call it. You know, like that's the poke. The amount of people who lost jobs. I was listening to a story about a guy in the military who was a fighter pilot, and the fighter pilot lost his job because he didn't get the vaccine. All of a sudden, we're short people, we're short pilots. So he gets brought on as a freelancer, a contractor to fly planes, his exact same job. And guess what? They paid him more. Does that make any sense? No, it doesn't. Of course it doesn't, Stu.
A workout, which is wild. And so after this conversation with the league, I knew that my appeal was going away, and they were doing this, I call it a witch hunt, where they were asking every single player, are you vaccinated? They were asking a bunch of big quarterbacks, and some guys were saying, it's personal or whatever, didn't want to talk about their status.
What a statement,
and it almost
man.
guaranteed you weren't vaccinated, right? So then they were getting ripped, and certain guys said, yes, I'm vaccinated, and then they tried to get them to say shit about their teammates, who weren't vaccinated, like dogged their teammates out. So I'd been ready the entire time for this question and had thought about how I wanted to answer it. And I had come to the conclusion, I'm going to say, I've been immunized. And if there's a follow-up, then talk about my process. But thought there's a possibility that I say I'm immunized. Maybe they understand what that means. Maybe they don't. Maybe they follow up. They didn't follow up. So then I go the season, them thinking, some of them, that I was vaccinated, right? Because the only follow-up they asked was basically asking me to rip on my teammates. Like, what do you say to your teammates who aren't vaccinated? Like, what kind of example do you feel like you're setting,
Think about that. Think about what they're doing. He's trying to get him to throw his teammates under the bus. And at the end of the day, the reason why Aaron Rodgers was put in hot water by the press is because Aaron Rodgers embarrassed them. He put them to task because they didn't do their job. They didn't ask the right questions. They didn't say, well, what does that mean? What does it mean to be you've been immunized? That's not vaccinated. What does that mean? No, they just want to go, tell us how bad your teammates are who haven't been. Tell us about how bad they are. They're so bad. That's crazy. And he's right to call us a witch hunt. Like, what right does somebody have to walk up and be like, hey, just want to know, have you had ice cream today? Well, you put that in your body. Get the fuck out of here. Come on.
To your teammates who aren't vaccinated, I said, hey, it's everybody's own decision with their body, and we're super healthy individuals. We take care of ourselves. We understand what goes in our bodies, and I don't have any judgment on any decision that a guy makes with their own body.
Like, think about that. Let's say you're a mid-level manager at Office Depot, right? And you're at Office Depot, and your GM walks up to you and he goes, "Hey, have you seen Sally? Do you know what Sally's vaccination status is? Has she been vaccinated or not?" Well, I don't know. It's not really her business. It's not really my business. It's what Sally's doing. Hey, well, she's bad because of that, right? I think she's. Can you tell me, like, she's gonna get everyone sick, right? Like, put that in any other business. How is that appropriate? That's, oh my God. God.
Right. But I knew at some point if I contracted COVID or if word got out, because it's the NFL and there's leaks everywhere, it was possible I'd have to answer the questions. And then sure enough, I contract COVID in at the beginning of November, end of October. And that's when the shitstorm hit, because now I'm a liar. I'm endangering, the community, my teammates, all these people, and the attempted takedown of me and my word and my integrity began. But
you can tell that he holds a grudge for this, and he should, because they really drug him through the mud. Everybody did. ESPN, go pick an analyst. You can find someone talking about how selfish and what a bad person Aaron Rodgers is, how he doesn't deserve to win the NFL because he's not vaccinated. Because he lied. He didn't lie. They asked if he was vaccinated. He gave them an answer. They didn't follow up. It's their fault. We're talking about journalists, wordsmiths by trade, and they got duped. They got outsmarted by a quarterback. They're embarrassed, idiots.
So that was difficult, but I will say, and I'm thankful to be on this show. Like, I really appreciate you and you helping me out during that time. I reached out to you, I think beginning of the season, I feel like, and just said, hey, because you had talked about in your podcast a little bit. You'd had some, controversial, maybe less controversial now, people on there talking
quite a bit
about,
less controversial now,
talking about their, experts in the field, talking about their own ideas about COVID, and you helped me with a game plan to be ready in case I did get COVID, and I followed it to a T. And when I got COVID, within 36 hours, I was, symptom free and feeling amazing. But the protocols was you're off for 10 days. So I missed a game. We lost a football game. I came back, had to answer a ton of questions about it. Obviously had my, basically I lost, the majority of allies I thought I had in the media. The good thing is it drew a real line in the sand, and everybody who wanted to jump on me and trash me did and showed their true colors. And very few people, kind of in the media at least, stuck by me.
That's fascinating, and I think that's actually, when things like that happen, you see who your friends truly are, and I think that's one of the things that Aaron Rodgers saw very quickly, who his true friends are, and who was just using him for articles or interviews or things like that, and that's just crazy to think about, as I've gone through ups and downs in my careers, and you see those things, and I bet Aaron Rodgers looks at that situation while he still holds a grudge. I bet he looks at it as a good thing, because he did get a chance to weed out all the trash in his life that was telling him one thing and then did another thing, and that's insane. I'll say it's the one thing that I feel that we've learned over the last 2 years is that we gotta treat people. We gotta let people have their own ability to make their own decisions, and we can't ridicule them because of that. It goes back to once again, I don't care how you live, just don't tell me about it. I really don't. I don't care. It's insane. If you guys did enjoy this video, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, and make sure you subscribe for more videos if you want to see me react to more Joe Rogan. Appreciate that. Thanks.